Just stopping in and waiting for some people to join in. So I'm just trying to make sure I'm up and I'm on my live. I think I am. And just giving a moment. Here we go. I see somebody's here. Okay. Now I don't know if I'm on YouTube as well or if I'm just on Facebook. I'm hoping I am on both. So if somebody's watching and can tell me where you're watching from. Hi, Shiloh. Hi, Sue. There we go. Okay. Perfect timing. Is it perfect timing, Lisa? Okay. So as you can tell, I'm not looking like I'm Facebook Live prepared. Uh, I don't have my I don't have my makeup on, my hair done, nothing. I was out walking earlier. Uh, so yeah, but I wanted to stop in before I ran out of gas today. I'm almost out. I'm like and so I just wanted to stop in and do this one. I'm actually in the process. I'm in the process of waiting for my forecast reading, so my channeled forecast reading message to download, and that's preparing to download. I just put a walk with me video on YouTube. So there's my last of my walk with me videos that now went on YouTube a few minutes ago, and I have a new forecast reading to come out that should be available. It is just it's downloading. It's just in the editor. So it's just downloading from editor, and then I should have that up for you as well today. So I just wanted to bring it up. Oh, you're so welcome. So glad I can bring these live streams in for you and that I can be here for everybody. Hello, hello, hello. There we go. Now the room is filling up. Hi, Angie. Hello. And on Facebook. Okay. And yeah, and tell me where you're all. It's always nice to know where people are watching from, like where people are. It's so good to hear. And so I have so many clients. I have a lot of followers and clients that I work with that are from like the New York area. That's a big popular spot for me. Uh, in Newfoundland, in my homeland. Beth, I hope the baby is all doing well and everything is going good. You're in Triton, Sue. I used to party in Triton. Back in my day, I used to party in Triton. That was one of my I lived in Springdale for a long time. So, uh yeah. Okay, so I know I'm on both. Hello, hello, everybody. Cece, Raina, Sue. Oh God, I don't even remember. One of my best friends was from Robert's Arm. We actually worked together, Sue, in we worked together in Springdale at Hair Center, and it was Rosalind Roberts. we were I knew a lot of people down that way, but I've been in Alberta for well over 20 years now, so hard to remember everybody that I knew down there. The Ryans, Tanis Ryan was a really good friend of mine. She's from that way as what she was from down that way. A lot of really good people, a lot of good people from down that way. She's amazing. She's 8 pounds and 6 ounces. She's like crazy. Aw, she's so beautiful, Beth. So beautiful. I'm so happy for you. Fort Vermilion, Shauna. Hello, Linda. And Shiloh, she's from Australia. I love how my Australian people are in here. And yes, and so it's morning for you over in Australia, right? You're in the morning. Mandy, hello. Cynthia, hello. Uh, Chandra, hello. Hello to everybody who is watching. So we got some people in here. We are going to my deck of cards today. I am jumping right in. I'm going to pull a 3-card reading for us first and see where we go from there. So let's see what we got. We got people from all over here. No, no, I've been, uh, it was, well, hello, my mother. Hello, my mother from in Newfoundland. Uh, no, Chandra, I was never. For me, this has been. I've had movies in my eyes since I was a little girl. I've never been. It was very natural for me, and even from behind the hairdressing chair, I would always talk about what I did. And no, I was never nervous about coming out. It was more for me. It is more of the um, the more public you become with your life, the more you put yourself out there and on screen, you got to have some really tough skin. It's not your clients, it's not the people you work with, it is the world that's around us that becomes. And so, yeah, you've had to really let go of a lot of things. Okay. So I am pulling a few cards. My messages keep going blank on me, so I'm just trying to adjust here, guys. And Raina is Ontario. I also lived in Ontario. I lived in Newfoundland. I lived in Ontario. I lived in Manitoba. I live in Alberta. There's not many places I probably have not been. So our cards that come out for us. So just now, I just recorded the forecast energy reading, and I did speak about a lot of things happening in in Earth itself, like in the core of Earth. So if you do watch my Walk with Me videos, you would have seen last week, or in my channel message last week, you would have seen me talk about a earthquake. And while I was out walking, I could feel this energy, and I'm like, I felt like something was happening, and I felt like this nervous energy, like there was something happening around me. And as I was recording my message, it actually, as I was recording my message in the evening, something told me to go on and record my forecast reading. And there was an earthquake that hit just outside of where I live here in Sylvan Lake at Rocky Mountain House. A earthquake of 5.2 hit while I was recording my forecast reading, right when I pulled the Tower card. So I pulled the Tower card, and this earthquake had happened, and I could feel the rumbling of the earth at about 5 p.m. I was walking. I'm like, I said I had to get to higher ground, is what it felt like to me. And not that it was like it did damage to us, but I'm sensitive. I can feel everything. I can hear everything. I can see everything. Like my world is much bigger than this one little human world that we live in, or the people that are near us. I hear, feel, sense everything, which makes my world a little bit complicated sometimes, a little bit hard. And so today, when I recorded my energy, I picked this up on a world scale, and I picked up this volcano energy, like a fault line, and something about around the equator, and all of this energy that I was just picking up, that there's a lot of disturbance in the earth right now. But the card that I'm pulling from my deck is the Timeless Treasure, which is Ona. And every time I look at her, I always think of Lady Liberty. And Lady Liberty comes to mind for me, that strong, the stable. And I speak about us having to kind of really grow and evolve in those tingles on the head. Yes, yes, those tinglies right on the head, right? It's like, um and so this is the, Ona, and she talks about the timeless treasure, and she's at the 5 to 3. So when you look at her, it's that coming full circle. But sometimes in life, we don't let things come full circle. And that comes with our inabilities to let things fully mature enough to let things die. And some things we have to let die, like our attitudes, like our stories that we hold ourselves to. And I really speak about this in the message I just did. So I know it's still coming up for us right now, that what I'm picking up for us and what I'm getting for us all as a collective, and why I'm doing this reading tonight as a collective energy for us all, is that we're all kind of being told this, that there's a lot of areas in our lives where we are not fully letting things end. And so it feels as if there's just this sensation, this feeling as if, when we keep kind of almost being done. So is that last quarter. So the last quarter is always the hardest to make, to allowing anything to end, to letting anything go. Is that last little bit, that last quarter mile, to just have this, the stamina, the strength, the courage to uh you're very welcome. The strength, the courage to be able to let things finally end. And so sometimes we have to let there be a full closure. And so full closure, there's areas in our lives where we have to come to this foreclosure, full closure. So for myself today, I've been really doing a lot of my writings about um, living unapologetic. And that was really hard for me. And what I realized in my writings was that I am relentless, like relentlessly chasing down my guilt, and always living apologetic, like apologizing for everything of, not, and by that, what I mean is always feeling like, did I do enough? Did I give enough? Could I have given more? Could I have did more? Not having boundaries. It's like I have zero freaking boundaries often. I don't know even know where to put them up. I've, always needing to, make sure that everyone else is equal to me, making sure people get to walk with me and that I don't leave anybody out or anybody behind. And today in my journey, or the past few days, what this is what was coming up that I had to let go. And and my mother's in here tonight, so it's really funny that you're here, Mom. But it was about me being in where I left me, and where I started to really let my shadow walk through the doors. And what I've been doing this meditation where I have been literally breaking down the walls to the last little bits. I'm like, I'm so close to being this completeness, and I'm so close to being done writing all of my books and all of my stuff. That I got two new books on the go, but all the previous work, like I'm so close. And so it was inside of a makeshift courtroom when I was young. And all I kept hearing myself say for days, all I ever wanted was a fucking hug. All I wanted was to just be able to fall apart in someone's arms and just say, it's like, I know what I did was not right, but it was like, but I'm sad, I'm heartbroken. And, on that, when I had to go to court for something way back when I was 12, 13 years old, and no, I wasn't in trouble. I was called to where I had to put my hand on a Bible and swear to the oath to tell the truth. Well, I've lived by that fucking oath out of fear my whole life. And in that moment, I said, I left me on the stand, my truth, my dignity, my everything, and I let my shadow walk through the door after that. It's like I didn't walk through the door. My shadow walked through the door. My essence of my protection, my warrior, to put my face on, to pretend I was strong, to know that, people are threatening you, and people are threatening that don't you ever come back to town, and don't you ever, like, and I know we were young, but it was like, to a young person who is just developing and growing, what your mind and your body tells you really truly holds on. So there's timeless stories that exist within us, that we have, that are treasures, and others are toxic. And when we can break the walls, and when we can break out and break down that whole scenario, and we can let it end, then we finally set ourselves free. So guilt has been like this riddling story of mine. I always feel guilty, even if I say yes to me and no to somebody else. Or it's like I always wonder, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. I don't want anybody to be. And so that plays out. And now put that in perspective into your life. Where is there an experience in your life that you may have left yourself held hostage in some way, and you've either been making up for, or you've been letting, and what we mean by shadows is that the best of you are apologetic for. Like, you think that she was troubled, you think she was a pain in the ass, you think she was annoying, she was a bad kid, so you tried to become anything but that. I tried to become the really good kid, right? And so you try so hard to become anything other than you. And you think there was something wrong with you, but other than that, you were a curious child, or you just thought what you were doing wasn't, you didn't have the intention to cause harm, but then you imprison that part of you. And that's where we get stuck. So, reaching back into the timeless treasure is freeing the best parts of you that you have yet to let out. So, who was mentioned about this psychic work? And I'm like, see, sometimes the best parts of you, your truest of you, you're not always letting out. And it's not always about that it's a job, it's a career. It's about no longer hiding you, hiding the essence of you, the truth of you. And when you can fully let that go and you can let that die, you no longer have that crippling energy that is stuck to you. I'm like, no matter how much people have either tromped on me or been, mistreated, I'm like, I'm the most friggin' forgiving person. I'm like, oh, it's okay, just come on back in. And I'm like, that's fucking bullshit. You don't need to open up your heart and your doors to just everybody. You can have a sacred space within you. And when you look back at where that a situation or a time in your life that then you have now spent a lifetime letting, living in relationships or scenarios, or repeating those patterns and those stories, out of the fact that you're always playing in the wrong kind of playground, the wrong kind of energy, because you believe that everything that you have presented to the world is your truth, but it was never your truth. So if somebody harmed you, if somebody hurt you, then you probably, right in that very moment, you stopped emotionally and spiritually developing, and you left the best parts of you right there. So when you break down that jail, you break down that wall. So I say I put myself in jail for that experience, that moment, and I never let some of the best parts of me out. And so there's many stories that I've worked on over the years in my healing journey, and I can honestly say I'm fucking done. I'm accepting that this is who I am and what I am. And I've taken the dark night of the soul journey. And so our timeless treasures is now looking back and now picking out the nuggets of it. So you got to pick out the nuggets, right? So that, what did I learn from it? What did I gain from that? What was, we say thank you to the shadow parts of us. We say thank you to the darkness of us. We say thank you because, you know what? There was some strong, that took a lot of courage to kind of keep moving and keep trudging forward, and being the protector and being that one. And I just remember, even when my daughter was younger, and this is how, you- she literally threw her friends in the bathroom to protect her friends and put herself in the line of fire. Well, that's the comparison of you and your shadow. Your best friend, you throw into a room to protect, and then you run forward to save the best friend, and you keep hiding, you keep protecting, but that best friend of you is deep into the soul of you. And this is the energy, the time when we have to start letting it out. We need more and more and more of our light starting to shine in this world, not less and less and less. We don't need any more of the shadow self. We need more of the light of us, the truth, to start to come forward and to be able to walk in that. Ah, right. So Chandra said, I have this fear I'm not good enough, but so many people think I'm really good. So Chandra, this is what I have to tell you. It's not you. And that's where you have to remember that. It is not you. You are not, you're a vessel. So the reason why we do the healing work on us as a human is so that we can be a clear channel, a clear vessel That's why healing work is so important. And I remember John Holland saying this at some training I was taking years back. And some people are psychic mediums and they're not healers, right? And so they never really do often do the healing work on themselves. Whereas healers really that do this work as well, really put their focus into healing. So they're always clearing out the energy. They're always, when, because I'm born this way, because I've been doing this since I was a kid, I often would forget to clear out energy or to, so you hold everything, you become like a sponge. And everybody knows you shouldn't be cleaning your counters with a sponge because a sponge is full of bacteria and dirt. And so it's the same thing when you become a sponge and you're not clearing out the energy, and then it becomes like this, it affects your human, it affects who you are. And so that clear vessel, when you can keep you clear, clean, whole, living your best life, your vibration is raising and rising. And it's so important to keep that and to know that you're never really doing the work. I don't take credit for what channels through me. I don't take credit for that. It's a part of me, but it's like I'm a clear vessel. I don't even remember sessions after they're done. And if you let people's energy get in and change your mind in a session, then it's not really, then our egos are in there, right? It's about staying out of it, right? And so right. And so, it's like, so I have all the clears. I have everyone that I have all the clears. I see, hear, feel, sense. I do it all. But it's that essence of the clearer you are as a vessel, a channel, the more trusting you are. When you have doubts and you have fears, you don't have faith in trusting spirit because you're a spirit. You are a spirit. Remember that. You're not, we are a spiritual being having a human experience. So all you're talking to is spirit to spirit because there's a spirit that exists within us, right? And so that's what's happening. And so when you just allow that communication, when you just allow things to unfold, it's like when people say, "Oh, you're just so good at what you do." And I'm like, everybody, you know, everybody can be. It's not that we can't be. Not everybody's here to be it in this lifetime, though. They're not, right? And so it's what we open ourselves up to and how open we are to letting our world expand beyond the one-dimensional thinking. Right. So it goes against our true self. And yeah, and Shiloh, that's where my more than existing came in. That's why I created more than existing. It was that I'm done. Like more than existing was created for that fact of, really truly looking at how programmed and conditioned we are and how much of our previous stories, how much of our previous experiences still have an emotional charge, how we have these personas, these identities, and how how we don't recognize like spiritual depression, which is what I'm getting ready to teach in my next coaching, and that these awakenings that we're going through, that we don't even recognize, that we believe there's something wrong with us, and when we're being told there's something wrong with you, you're crazy, you're right. And so that not being accepted, and when you just stop caring if you're accepted, then you really start to allow yourself to feel for you. Well, Claire and Chandra, I really suggest you guys get into my trainings. I can really help you ladies with this. um, Lana, I'm going through something so messed up. I'm feeling so much like I don't know what the fuck purpose is anymore. Okay, so Lana, um, that course that I'm teaching, that spiritual depression, that is about us kind of awakening. So the symptoms of, and I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not saying that we don't have other issues, that medical issues or anything else that we should ignore or neglect, but there's a lot of symptoms and signs that people don't really associate or don't really think about. It's actually like breaking out. We're breaking out of our shell. Where it's like your your soul, our soul self is really crying out for us to let go of who we think we should be, to let go of the shadow self, to let go of the roles we play, the identities we've created. Most people have no idea that who they are is not really them. No clue that that's not really them. And then most times, by the time I'm like, it is all ultimately that you're here to learn, to appreciate, to have the human experience. It's not about getting out there and being out there all the time. It's about living here on earth. It's about having that human experience. It's so important for us to be able to allow ourselves to enjoy that and to be a part of our human experience. So picking out the treasures of our experiences, and when you're having an emotional, like you're triggered into an emotional response, a trigger is a warning. It's saying don't let yourself go there. You've been there before. An emotional response is a previous experience coming forth that you are now tying into an experience that's happening right now. But that experience is not the same experience. That experience is long gone and you're in a new experience. The only thing that makes it feel like it is because the emotions, there is similarities in the emotions. So if you give a good feeling, if you give love to the emotion, you know what? I know you've been here before. I know this feels like it, but it's not it. And you pick out the nugget and say, okay, now remember you made it through that time. If you made it through that experience, well, take that courage or that strength or that determination that you used in that experience and now use it in this experience. Find the nugget, find the treasure so that you can let something in, so you can let something come to full completion, so that you don't keep doing it again, so that you don't keep losing that your place in your journey and you don't feel like you're always falling back into an old story. The past is non-existent. The emotions that you're bringing forth are what we feed in our subconscious mind, and we feed ourselves, and then it becomes our new reality. We create stories. It's all imagination, right? Yeah. Everything is energy. Yeah, I'm having issues too, Shiloh, on my end. So I think there's something funky going on. I don't know what's happening either. I have it happening too. So you're not alone. So yeah. And now our next card. Mhm. Next card. Feed the light. Here we go. Right. And so by feeding the light, and as I'm walking today and I'm talking and I'm doing my walk with me and I get back home and I'm like, oh, it's just to be able to find that place where you celebrate you celebrate the people in your life, like you celebrate the people who are there to kind of kind you look back and you can see the good, the bad, and the ugly of every experience. You can see the fear in people, you can see what everybody was existing within, and you start to see a bigger picture. And so when you start to feed light, feeding, this is Rose, and I use Rose is actually the character in one of my books. And feed the light is also includes forgiveness. And forgiveness is not that you forget, but when you release the energetic charge to a story, now it's just a story. And so when I tell my stories or I use my stories, it has no emotional charge for me. So anyone that's having an emotional charge from it, from my experience and what I'm telling my story, if it's compassion, if you're feeling it, it is actually something that is in you and your stories, that it is chart that is has an emotional connection to. And what it tells you is to, where does that sound familiar to you, or where does it connect to you? Where is it saying, I need to take a good look at my own emotional connection. And why is my emotions, why am I feeling this emotion? Emotions are not useless energy. Emotions have a purpose and a why. And so the to use it then to travel through the emotion, to use it as if it's a map, and use that emotion as a blueprint, as like to connect the dots to a energy, which can also be just words in itself, like Lisa Starr Francis teaches, is that whole sense of the energy behind your words is sometimes you're just triggered an emotional response by words, or triggered by other things. And that's why, even as a psychic medium, is that when people tell me their stories, I can't allow myself to let that, so being healed and healthy and whole, to hold myself into that place of moving all ego aside and being present, is that I'm not allowing myself to have be triggered by anyone else's stories, to let in the emotions to override the fact that there's a message to be given. And I then, not to let yourself give a client what they want to hear, right? It's not about what we want, it's about what we need to be able to grow, to evolve, to be able to become the best versions of ourselves, to live the healthiest of lives. And so your emotions can become like a needle point, like a little, like a light board, like one of those old light boards we used to have, where you put the little pegs in it, and it creates a picture, and you start to see a whole image of how your emotional connection, how your emotions get so invested and involved that you keep repeating patterns, you keep repeating behavior, you keep going back doing the same things. So by poking a hole in your story, into what is in the dark, or what is in the unknown, or what is in the previous stories, by poking a hole in your story, it shines a light up onto the areas where you need to start to pay attention. And then you don't feed the story or the emotion anymore. You feed the hole, you feed the light. You feed into the light, you dig in deeper, and you go deeper into the depth of the unknown of you, into that soul journey, to discover more and more and more. That keeps being like the underground mining of digging out the precious gems, to find the gem that is your truth, that is your real you. That's what we're doing, right? And so the more you feed the light, the more you start to discover about who and what you really are. I hope that helps. I don't know why I'm really, really sad that we keep losing our comments here. I hope I still have people, because yeah, I'm everything is going blank. I'm going to keep talking. I'm going to keep talking, but that's, so if you are still here, keep commenting, and I'm sure they'll come back on again. Oh, good. Okay. Yay. Okay. So Shiloh, Destiny, my mother's, Chandra, Jen, Lisa. Okay. Perfect. So down to the last card. I got to show you guys something. Look at that down there. That's my two little Yorkies. They're snoring. The chubby little one is snoring. And over there, hugged into that teddy bear. See that big gray thing hugged into that teddy bear? That's my cat. And my cat got attacked by a neighbor's cat today. She doesn't go outside. She sits it on the deck, and the neighbor's cat attacked her today. So she's not very happy. She's an old girl. You can hear Sid snoring, right? That's why I had to show him. I'm like, that noise is my dog snoring, just in case anybody wants to know what that noise is. And the rest of the stuff is my granddaughter's. So our next card is Smoke and Mirrors. This is Mara. And this is Smoke and Mirrors. I could bring these cards up on the screen for you. And so this is Smoke and Mirrors. And this card is really truly about that reflection of our truth. And I always say your mirror can be like a rear view reflection, that you're looking into the past, or it can be that you keep looking into the mirror and seeing the stories that you've either told yourself, or you see the stories of what you thought you heard, or what you thought people said, or what you thought people thought of you. And then you start to create an image and a picture of this, so of our misery, of our ugliness, of our not good person. And you start to tell yourself something that is not really a truth. A mirror a mirror is not a true reflection either. It's a man-made mirror. And so when your eyes see something, it sees pixels of colors, and then it brings it back in, and it goes into the brain. And based on the information that you have, based on the subconscious stories, based on the information that you've retained, you, or how you perceive the world, you create the image. You create the image, the story of what you are looking at and what you're seeing. And that's and when you start to see your world that way, you start to say, "Oh, well, maybe what I thought I seen." So anything that I refer to, I always say it's the way I perceived it from the age I was at. That's why if you look back on your situations without an emotional charge, you can see things differently, a whole lot differently. And so, in that mirror reflection, the only way that you can truly see what you really, really look like in a mirror reflection is if you took two halves of a mirror and you put the two halves of the mirror, so from the same side, kind of together, and then put them together. And that's kind of how people see you and how you see you is totally different. And as long as you're looking in any mirror, you will always have a distorted view of what you look like. You're never, even the mirror lies. You are not seeing a truth. You are seeing a reflection. You're seeing a reflection, which is not your truth. And when you start to see things, when you start to really recognize that, you start to say, you know, I I have to start taking a deeper look at the stories that I tell myself, or that turning a blind eye to what I need to pay attention to, what I need to look at, why I keep existing back in the same story or telling myself the same story. Because am I feeding my fear story, my self-sabotage story, my victim story, or am I ready to feed myself a new truth? And that's where, when we poke a hole in our own story and we start to see the light of life through, beyond the smoke and mirrors, beyond the story that has worked for us for so many years, we start to be able to see a truth. And it might even be a story that works so well for somebody else. And then we start to gain more clarity. So I'm just going to bring up our three cards. So this is our cards. And if you look at the picture and you see her, and in what we're seeing, you don't see she's got this purple heart in front of her. So from a side view, so we can see this reflection in the mirror. We see a mirror. Then we see this larger image of a girl. Then we see even more again. So the more that we let ourselves have a wider view of our lives, the the more we can expand our perspective. When we have blinders on, when we only want to see one story, one side of the story, when we don't want to have to look at anyone else's perspectives or anyone else's views, we get narrow-minded and closed in. But it also keeps us staying a victim and a hostage to placing ourselves back in to being held into an old story. Then we're not able to free ourselves. We're not able to go that last little journey, that last little bit. And in all reality, we actually have way more solutions than we have problems. But we create the problems to be larger than the solutions. We really do. Yet when we disconnect from our emotions, perception is non-judgmental. Exactly. Right. And so it's like when you become an observer, and a witness to your own experience and to your own life, when you take full ownership and responsibility, which is what More Than Existing is about, and you start to be able to become honest with yourself, without becoming a critic, without becoming judgmental, without punishing yourself anymore. We're not here to punish ourselves, right? We're here to set ourselves free. And so these are the things that in my journey that I say, I was done carrying, I was done letting it have so much ownership and control. And I never started any of this work for anyone else. And actually today back in 2008 was when I completed my Reiki teacher training. So I became a Reiki master teacher back in 2008 on this day today. And I had taken my time going through so that I didn't rush the process. I really started this journey for me. And in my first Reiki healing journey that I started, I also started to train as a past life healer. And so I started to doing some real deep meditation, some hypnotherapy treatments, and I started to see experiences in my life through traveling back, and that story of disassociation. So, when you can see through third person, when you can place yourself in a third person view, it's amazing how if you start looking in at situation and stories that you see without placing yourself in there, you really truly start to take a whole new journey, right? Thank you. And so during that whole journey that I've been on, I later started to work with Deborah King, and I did a lot of advanced energy healing through Deborah King's training, and then I did some master training with her, and it was ascensions and ascending beyond even my Reiki symbols, and I really fought with her really hard on some of the things that I refused to let go of, and I'm like, no effing way, that's who I am, that's how I identify myself, and I'm known as that, and I'll never let go of that part of me. So even the best of you can also be the most limiting of you. And when you can let yourself be free of even where you started and you let yourself grow and expand beyond, you'd be amazed at how we hold so strong to the parts of us that we want to be identified by, that we believe in with such conviction, can also limit and hold us back. Because what if God's plan, or God conscious, or source, or creator, whatever your word is, what if that plan is even bigger and larger than your plan? And you get so caught up and hold yourself to it, right? And that's why the moment that we can set ourselves free, the moment that we can fully let go of everything that we hold on to, even the need and desire to be somebody, or to be a specific person, or to hold on to our titles, hold on to, I would say, I don't live by my titles, right? And so that whole sense, I mean, I was so honored and I'm still honored by my Reiki, don't get me wrong, but I also knew that I had to let myself grow beyond, because that was the beginner. That was the beginning of my journey. And I had to free myself of those journeys to be able to let things grow and evolve beyond. And that takes time. And it's like, so there is no human time. Human time was created for the purpose of a need to control and to keep things regulated. The To let go of the need to control it and to allow ourselves to travel through our journey takes away a lot of our limited beliefs, and it really helps us to be able to release the energy of the emotional connection that we make, that not only with the past but with the desired destiny outcome. So we get that destination desire that then that cripples us, because we think we have to be something, but we're also trying to hold on to old establishments and the way things are done. And if we left an industry and we left a world that was so defined by one way of being, but it wasn't working for us anymore, why are we trying to recreate it in our world to keep our world that way? And so a big struggle for me has been about me and the appointment book, and being so controlled by the appointment book, because I spent 30 years being booked solid for 6, 8 weeks ahead as a hairstylist, and then I returned back into it, and you can't go do things freely because you're tied to it. So really downsizing my available time to being tied to appointment book and freeing up my time and trusting that this part of the journey of my ascension was also going to provide for me a life was very important. And that's what you have to really look at in your own journey, in your own life. How much is the old, when we let ourselves have those paradigm shifts, to really start to shift into a new way of being, a new way of allowing. And that means emotionally and spiritually evolving and growing beyond our previous identities, our thoughts, our titles, our roles that we played, and freeing ourselves a little bit more of that. Become a little bit easier and kinder to yourself. Trying to let go and have learned so much in the last few years, loving my journey. Yes, exactly, Jennifer, right? It's like just trusting that journey. Right? Yeah, pretty patriotic to my beliefs that it delayed my growth to expand my consciousness. Yeah, and that's exactly it, right? And so that conscious awareness is what we innately know. What we that we innately know. And so then we gain, we have this knowledge. We know circle's a circle, we know square's a square, we know hot is hot, we know cold is cold. Those are definite define things, but we also know, but we forget that we are love and we are unconditionally loved. But we so easily forget that, but there's no difference in that and love. The only difference is that somebody programs that we get programmed by society, our lives, and our own minds by the fact that we are not loved because we don't really have an understanding of what love really means. And that's the truth. And so this is about being able to release, let go, surrender, and do what needs to be done for us. And that was the same reason, why a lot of what we do is a lot of me pulling back and giving more collective messages, more messages that are for everybody and not just for one person in particular, because right now there's a need for these messages to go out that are meant for for bigger groups and to expand that. And to give to more at once, and to know that these messages are, even you're listening to them, you're like, oh, I'm not getting a card, or I'm not hearing from spirit. Well, you're hearing from spirit, you're hearing from the divine. It channels through me. I'm a channel. I'm a vessel for the messages. So the messages that are coming through is not of, they use my stories, they use my existence, they use that, but this is what channels through. And that's what comes through to be able to give when I ask, what is needed today? What do we need today? And what is needed most? And then personal one-on-one, you can book them. You can book those personal one-on-ones. And the last card that I'm going to give to be an ending to our message tonight is the Master Manipulator. And this is Mavis. And when I first got this card, I didn't like it. And I knew when I didn't like it, I had to hold on to this card. And when I had to hold on to this card, I knew there was so much more to her that I would have to come to learn. And so we can become the master manipulator of our own stories, our own realities, and what we tell ourselves. And we can convince ourselves of some of our baddest of behaviors. What we do to ourselves sometimes, it's amazing. And say, oh, but I just know I'm doing the right. No, you don't. If you knew, you wouldn't be doing it secretly, or you wouldn't be hiding behind closed doors to do it, or you wouldn't be trying to shove it underneath the rug, or you wouldn't be hurting. Because that hurt that you're feeling, that's the love from inside. That's your internal unconditional love saying, hey, you know what, I have no other choice but walk with you, so I got to stay with you. I'm by your side no matter what. But do we really have to fucking do this again? That's how your soul talks to you. And so, do we really have to do this again? And then you say yes, and I know this is right, I know this is for me, and I know this is what I'm supposed to do. And then you find, then then everything else around you starts to show you a different story, and things start to break away. And then you still get stuck in your head, and you get stuck in your stories, and you still create that story. And so she's that, she also has that bleeding heart energy when we feel like we have to become the savior to everything and everybody. The martyr complex, to be the martyr, to be the one who says, I'm the one who's always there for everyone. I'm the one everybody needs. I'm the one. And when you're telling yourself that, you're kind of judging everyone else around because you're telling them they're not enough, right? But in the meantime, your need to be needed is greater than your ability to be able to say, hey, you know what? Maybe somebody else would love to be there, but why would anyone else be there if you're always the one to jump in and to be that person? And then the beautiful little yellow birds are flying around is, the essence of the divine, of our golden light, our truth. And so no matter where we've been, no matter how ugly our story has gotten, no matter how much we have abandoned ourselves, betrayed ourselves, no matter how much we have turned against ourselves, become treated ourselves unfairly, mistreat ourselves, no matter how much we have tried to destroy ourselves, that little light inside of us is still always there reminding us that we are still loved unconditionally. We judge ourselves. The world judges us. This doesn't judge us. And there's a difference. And so when you start to come home to you and you start to tell yourself your real truths, it's amazing how less judgmental you are and how much more kindness and compassion you have for you, for your stories, for people in your stories. And you start to soften. You start to soften. Not, and this, our strength sometimes, our strongest is when we allow ourselves to be weak, when we allow ourselves to be vulnerable, when we allow ourselves to crumble and fall, to let things, let ourselves fall into and walk through our fire, our grief, our anything, and to know that we remember who we were on the other side. And we remember that we made it through before, and we know we're going to do that. And that we feed that light. We feed that light, and that is faith. And we believe in us. We know we can do this, but we know that we don't want to keep repeating cycles. So we do the hard stuff. We meet the challenges head on, and we have the courage to free ourselves and others so that we can live a more liberated life. And that's our message. I hope it resonates with you. I hope it helps you somehow. Thank you to those who did stick it out till the end and did stay, even though it's glitchy tonight. And I will be back. I'm just watching in case anyone wanted to comment or had anything else. We forgot to love ourselves. Yes, exactly. So thank you all. Oh, there is Lisa. She was there. Lisa Star Francis is also there. So thank you all. And I do have my courses coming up. I have oh, perfect, Lisa. Thank you. I got glitchy on my end. Um, so glad it worked out on your end. So I do have the spiritual depression course coming up, which is a part of our awakening energy. I have that one coming up. It's a 4-week coaching. It's every second week. You're not fully committed. If you can't make it to the lives, you can get the videos. What else? Oh, I have the winged ones. I have another mystical realm 2-week. It's a 2 Sunday morning class coming up. It is about the winged ones in the mystical realm. I never know what they're going to be. They give me the titles and I let it unfold. And so that's coming up as well. I don't know what else I got happening, but I know there is some stuff that is coming, that is happening. You can go, tickets will soon go for our summit. We'll soon start announcing that. And yeah, go into More Than Existing Academy of Higher Consciousness. There is a whole lot of stuff that is happening. Reiki, and I don't have a Reiki course coming. That's a chakra. So that's a chakra healing. So that's coming up, Jen. Yes, thank you. So that's a chakra energy healing, and Reiki and chakra work is not the same work. But I may possibly down the road be doing, I think I'm going to do a level 1 of Reiki as well in the new year, but that has not unfolded yet. But I do have the chakra one. That one is coming up, and it's like you don't have to have taken the previous one, but it is about doing the healing work and teaching you more advanced stuff about healing around the chakra energy. So yeah, I'm excited about that one. That one's a master class. So yeah, and so yeah, that one is available too, coming up. So thank you. Right. Exactly. Doctors and healers do it to get the flows. Yes, exactly. right? We manipulate and we move the energy. So yeah, so that's actually in the card itself. Ha, good point out, Shiloh. That's actually in the card. So with the write up of the cards, that's the healing energy of the card. So my cards have inspiration, attitude, and healing. And so that's the actual healing part of the card. So good pickup on that. I love you too, mother. So yeah, so it's all in More Than Existing Academy of Higher Consciousness. Go to my website, CoreyThorne.com. You can check it all out, what's all coming up. And Lisa has a few things coming up. Sabina has a few things coming up as well in the school, some yoga stuff and some Kundalini. Lisa has Sunday oracle cards. Like there's a lot of things happening. Human design. We have a lot of things coming up. So much love. Have a beautiful night, and I will be back to do some card readings for you guys. Hopefully before Saturday, because I got to babysit, take care of my granddaughter. So yeah. Oh, one last thing. Guess what? I'm going to be a grandmother again. I'm so excited. So yes, so no matter what's happening, we find the beauty. There is good things that are happening around us, and find our nuggets, find our treasures. And there's a why to being the best version of us is so important for you and for those who love us dearly. So have a beautiful night. I will talk to you soon. Much love. Bye-bye.